There's a tropical low with its sights set on Brisbane, and this one's not messing around. Welcome back, everyone. It's Sunday the 8th of March 2026, and we've got a big one to walk you through today. Queensland is right in the crosshairs of a significant rainfall and flooding event unfolding as we speak. So whether you're tuning in from Brisbane, the Sunshine Coast, Wide Bay, or further north, stick around, because this one affects you. Before we dive in, drop your location in the comments below, and I'll make sure we give your area some extra attention today. Now, let's start with the big picture, what's actually driving all this wet weather across the country right now. The monsoon trough is still sitting across the top of Australia, and it's been doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to this rainfall. Embedded along that trough are a couple of tropical low-pressure systems, and together they're acting like a giant moisture pump. These lows are drawing in deep tropical moisture and funneling it into showers, storms, and areas of very heavy rainfall. We've already seen some extraordinary rainfall totals across northern and northeastern parts of Australia over the past several days. All that rain has been feeding into river systems, triggering flash flooding and riverine flooding across a wide area. In the Northern Territory, we've got major flood warnings in place for the Daly River, the Catherine River, and the Waterhouse River. These aren't just numbers on a map. Communities in and around those river systems are already dealing with significant impacts. If you're in or near those flood-affected areas in the NT, please follow all directions from your local emergency services, no exceptions. Further east, new flood warnings are beginning to develop along the Queensland coast as rain continues to fall. These are stacking on top of ongoing flood warnings already in place across Western Queensland from earlier rainfall this year. On top of the active warnings, there are also extensive flood watches covering much of northern and eastern Queensland. Those watches also stretch back across parts of the Northern Territory and into the Kimberley region of Western Australia. Think of those flood watches as the early heads up they're telling us where riverine flooding could develop next. Now, there are also major flood warnings for the Thomson River, Cooper Creek, Georgina River, and Eyre Creek, all significant systems. Keep a very close eye on these watches. Over the coming days, they may well be upgraded to full flood warnings as the rain continues. All right, now let's talk about where the action is heading, because this is where things get really interesting for Queensland. The tropical low that's been sitting over northwestern Queensland is the one to watch. It's dragging significant moisture southward. We're looking at a trough extending south from that low, pushing through central Queensland down towards the Wide Bay Burnett. That trough is acting like a pipeline, drawing moisture from the tropics and funneling it deep into southeast Queensland. Where that tropical moisture from the north meets the southerly winds pushing up from the coast, that's your rainfall hotspot. We're expecting that clash to really fire up the rainfall between Bowen and the Sunshine Coast over the next 24 to 48 hours. In the Capricornia Coast, places like Agnes Water and Gladstone have already copped some very heavy falls in the past 24 hours. There's been significant flooding at Miriam Vale just outside Gladstone, and rivers and bridges in that area are looking very concerning. Baffle Creek at Hills Road Bridge is right up near the bridge deck, a level it rarely reaches under normal conditions. So if you're in that area and you're planning to drive, please check road conditions before you head out. Never drive through floodwater. Now, a severe weather warning for heavy rainfall is currently active for northwestern Queensland, including around Richmond. That warning flags hourly totals of 25 to 50 millimetres and 6 hourly totals potentially reaching up to 100 millimetres. That's significant rainfall. A second severe weather warning has been issued covering the Maranoa and Warrego, Darling Downs and Granite Belt regions. That warning also covers the southeast coast, Wide Bay Burnett, and the Central Highlands and coalfields. 6 hourly totals of 30 to 55 millimetres are expected in those areas, with isolated falls potentially reaching 90 millimetres or more. The heavier falls in that southeastern zone could begin late tonight, but are more likely to really ramp up through the day on Monday. Now, the big question everyone's been asking, what does this mean for Brisbane? There is a potential for a coastal low-pressure system to develop off the southeastern Queensland coast, possibly as early as tomorrow. If that coastal low develops and tracks the way some models are suggesting, it could influence Brisbane and the Gold Coast significantly. The honest truth right now is that Brisbane sits in a zone of real uncertainty. Forecast models aren't fully agreeing on its track. What we do know is that Brisbane is not the primary hotspot. The heaviest falls are most likely north of the city. But it absolutely cannot be ruled out, which is why the message to Brisbane residents is be prepared, not alarmed. For areas north of Brisbane up towards Noosa, the Sunshine Coast and Gympie, you are in the more concerning zone right now. The Wide Bay Burnett region, think Maryborough, Hervey Bay, and Bundaberg is shaping up as one of the most impacted areas. Those areas really don't need another 200 millimetres on top of what they've already seen. But unfortunately, that's the kind of rainfall on the table. Rockhampton sits in an interesting spot too. The low could bring significant falls there, but timing remains a little uncertain. Across the Darling Downs and the Granite Belt, Toowoomba and Stanthorpe are worth keeping a close eye on as the trough pushes through. If you're in any of these areas, this weekend is a good time to check your gutters, move valuables to higher ground, and know your evacuation routes. And if you live in a flood-prone area and you know who you are now, is the time to seriously think about having sandbags on standby. So where are the heavy falls expected to fall over the period from Sunday through to Tuesday morning? A broad swath of moderate to heavy rain is expected stretching from northwestern Queensland, down through the central regions, to Wide Bay. Rainfall totals of 150 millimetres or more over 48 hours are looking increasingly likely for parts of Wide Bay and central Queensland. Further north, between Bowen and Mackay, persistent heavy falls could see localised totals even higher than that. One of the key forecast models and the icon, Access, and EC models are unusually aligned on this, agrees on a significant rainfall event. That level of agreement between international forecast models is actually a strong signal that this event is locked in. It's not a maybe. The rainfall may be patchy and hit or miss in places, but it will be prolonged enough to produce serious accumulations. Now, what about North Queensland and the tropics places like Townsville, Cairns and Mount Isa? Townsville and Cairns will continue to see showers and storms. They've already had a very wet stretch, and that continues for now. The tropical low over the Northern Territory is slowly drifting towards the coast, which should ease the intensity a little in that region. Scattered showers and storms will persist across the top end, particularly through the western parts, with locally heavy falls still possible. Gulf country communities, you're still in the thick of it. Ongoing heavy rainfall is expected to continue across those areas too. And for Mount Isa and those central western Queensland communities, some additional rainfall is actually very welcome heading into the dry season. Down in the south, it's actually a pretty different story. A broad high-pressure system sitting over the Bight is keeping things fairly settled. Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth are all looking at relatively quiet and dry conditions this week. Make the most of it. Sydney is on the fringes. There may be some scattered showers along the New South Wales coast as moisture streams south, but nothing major. For anyone planning marine activities this weekend, please check the latest marine warnings before heading out on the water. There are marine wind warnings currently in place across parts of New South Wales, Victoria and the Northern Territory coast, and in Western Australia. Tropical low 30U is still being monitored offshore. It's not posing an immediate threat, but is being watched closely. All right, let's bring it all together and map out the key cities and what they can expect over the next few days. Bundaberg and Hervey Bay High impact zone significant rainfall and potential flooding expected from Sunday through Monday. Prepare now. Sunshine Coast expect increasing rain from Sunday afternoon. With heavy falls likely by Monday, keep an eye on local creek levels. Brisbane, uncertainty remains. But heavy rain is possible. South Brisbane may see more than the city centre. So watch the forecasts closely. Gold Coast, similar story to Brisbane, mostly watching the development of that potential coastal low for clues on timing and intensity. Rockhampton, already seeing elevated river levels, more rain is expected, and the Fitzroy River system will be closely monitored. Mackay. In the firing line for some of the heaviest falls, Mackay has a well-known history with flash flooding, so take this seriously. Toowoomba and Darling Downs. The trough pushing through could bring heavy and fast-falling rain to your ranges. Watch for flash flooding. For all areas, if you get a heavy downpour, remember, water rises fast. Especially in creek and low-lying areas, don't wait to act. Now, here's something worth thinking about. Floods from these kinds of events don't just come from the sky directly above you. Upstream rainfall in catchment areas can send water surging downstream hours or even days after the rain has stopped where you are. That's what makes riverine flooding so tricky. Your local weather may clear, but the river can still rise well after the fact. So please don't let clearing skies lull you into a false sense of security if you live near a river or flood-prone catchment. Always check the Bureau of Meteorology website and the BOM weather app for the very latest flood warnings in your specific area. Now, this looks like it starts to ease by Tuesday morning as those low-pressure systems are expected to shift offshore. The heaviest rain should move out to sea by early Tuesday, leaving more scattered and lighter shower activity behind along the coast. But Sunday through Monday is shaping up as the peak of this event. That's the window where conditions will be most intense. So the key takeaway, this is a legitimate, well-forecast weather event, not a beat-up, and it deserves your full attention this weekend. The forecast models are unusually consistent on the broad picture: heavy rain, potential flooding, and real risk across central to southeast Queensland. Before I wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching this event from? And is there a specific area you'd like me to dig into more? Leave your town or suburb in the comments. The more you let me know, the better I can tailor these updates to what you actually need. Stay safe. Look out for your neighbours, especially elderly folks or anyone who might need a hand preparing, and don't underestimate this one. For the latest warnings and forecasts, head to bom.gov.au or open the BOM weather app. That's your most reliable, real-time source. We'll be keeping a close eye on how this develops, and we'll have another update for you as soon as conditions evolve. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Stay dry, stay safe, and we'll catch you in the next update. Take care, everyone.